Haslam didn't expect to be making franchise-altering decisions mid-season, but Shedeur Sanders changed that overnight. The quarterback's explosive post-game confrontation, where he called for Kevin Stefanski's removal in front of players and staff, has thrown Browns ownership into an impossible position. With veterans now backing Sanders and public support surging on social media, D and GM Andrew Berry are cornered. Supporting Stefanski risks alienating their future quarterback. Backing Sanders could fracture leadership and invite more dissent.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Either path means turbulence, and one wrong move could wreck the team's long-term trajectory. This isn't a drama playing out in isolation. Every day the Browns delay action, they slip deeper into a credibility crisis, with players, fans, and rivals watching closely. Stefanski's control is slipping, and Sanders has made it clear he won't stay silent. The organization's response now holds more weight than any game on the schedule. It could decide whether this team finally builds around a star or blows everything apart. The Cleveland Browns have never been strangers to drama, but this time, it's different. This time, it's not about a busted draft pick or another bad Sunday. This is about a full-blown internal collapse. And at the center of it is Shedeur Sanders, a rookie quarterback who's not just refusing to play the game, he's rewriting it. Let's cut right to it. Sanders didn't just call out a bad play. He didn't vent after a tough loss. He walked straight into an impromptu team meeting, uninvited, and said exactly what most young players are taught never to say: "We're not going to win until Kevin Stefanski is gone." That statement wasn't whispered to the media. It wasn't passive-aggressive. It wasn't even strategic. It was raw, direct, public. And now it's lit a fire that's burning through the entire Browns organization. This didn't come out of nowhere. Weeks of humiliating losses and a growing sense of dysfunction inside the locker room led to this moment. Sanders wasn't lashing out. He was saying what a growing number of players had already started to believe: that the coaching staff, starting with Stefanski, had lost control. And worse, they'd lost the confidence of the locker room. That's what makes this more than just a controversial quote. It's a declaration, a full challenge to the franchise's leadership structure. And it's one that the Browns now have no choice but to confront. Because this isn't just about Sanders and Stefanski. This is about the entire future of the Cleveland Browns. Veteran players have reportedly backed Sanders. That's not nothing. These aren't rookies caught up in the emotion of the moment. These are seasoned athletes who've seen what dysfunction looks like, and they're siding with the 22-year-old who just pulled the fire alarm. Others in the locker room are staying quiet. And when you're dealing with this level of internal conflict, silence speaks just as loudly. Staying neutral in a moment like this is often a survival tactic, not indifference. Because everybody knows, lines have been drawn. And when the quarterback makes a public stand like that, you can't pretend everything's business as usual. The coaching staff knows it. The front office knows it. And ownership? Haslam is reportedly furious. Not just because the Browns are underperforming, again, but because now the internal chaos is out in the open. There's no spinning this. There's no damage control meeting that puts this genie back in the bottle. And so now, Cleveland is stuck in the most dangerous position in sports: indecision. Because this isn't just about replacing a head coach. This is about a franchise finally being forced to choose between preserving the status quo or actually backing their star quarterback when he puts everything on the line. And that decision? It's not theoretical. It's not long-term. It's immediate. Either they remove Stefanski, reset the coaching staff, and back the player who's shown he's willing to lead, or they defend a failing regime, let the dysfunction fester, and risk pushing Sanders straight out the door. That's not speculation. That's what's on the line right now. Shedeur has now made his expectations clear. And the rest of the league? Watching with interest. Because a quarterback like him, high upside, leadership presence, star power, is rare. If Cleveland lets him slip, rival GMs will be ready. This isn't some hot-headed backup demanding attention. This is a franchise quarterback calling out the cracks in the foundation. And if the Browns ignore it, They don't just risk losing him, they risk turning their future into yet another case study in how not to run a team. And let's talk about what's happening on the field, too. The losses to division rivals aren't just painful, they're demoralizing. These games aren't just missed opportunities. They're symptoms of what's going wrong internally. The locker room is tired. Not just physically. Mentally. The kind of tired that comes from knowing you're being led by someone the players don't believe in anymore. That trust, that buy-in, it's gone. When that goes, preparation suffers. Execution suffers. And no amount of "we'll watch the tape" can fix it. That's where things are now. No one's looking to game film for answers. They're looking to ownership. And the silence? The total lack of action or even acknowledgement from leadership. It's making everything worse. Because when a player like Sanders steps out and takes the risk of saying the quiet part out loud, and the organization meets that with nothing, it doesn't just undercut him, it undercuts everyone. It says, loud and clear, that leadership is more interested in controlling the narrative than confronting the reality. That's how you lose the team for good. And once you lose the team, good luck getting it back with a mid-season speech or a players-only meeting. That's not how respect works. That's not how leadership is earned. What's wild is that this isn't new for Cleveland. The cycle is familiar. Hope, promise, tension, silence, collapse. It's been happening for 2 decades. But this time, the stakes are higher. Because for the first time in years, the Browns have the guy. The quarterback. The talent. The leadership. And if they botch this, there's no respin. No, maybe next year. Just regret. And you can already feel it brewing. The next phase, if nothing changes, is inevitable. Performance declines. Players start mentally checking out. The media firestorm doesn't die down, it intensifies. And Sanders? He starts looking around. If the Browns think they can outwait this crisis, they're wrong. That kind of wishful thinking is exactly what got them here in the first place. Delaying the hard decisions. Hoping things fix themselves. They won't. Not this time. Stefanski has reportedly lost the support of the locker room. That's not a rumor, it's reality. When the quarterback says you're holding the team back, and other players agree, that's not something you recover from with a win. It's over. The only question left is whether the Browns have the nerve to do what needs to be done. Because there's still time to fix this. Barely. But only if ownership acts. Only if they stop protecting a system that clearly isn't working and start protecting their most valuable asset, their future. If they wait too long, they won't just lose Sanders. They'll lose the respect of the league, the trust of the players, the faith of the fan base. And next time the Browns try to pitch a vision to a top prospect, a free agent, or the draft, they'll be remembered as the team that let their quarterback sound the alarm and chose silence. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Should the Browns remove Kevin Stefanski and back Shedeur Sanders before this spirals beyond repair? Or has the team already missed their shot? Drop a comment below, hit that like button if you've been watching this unfold like the rest of us, and make sure to subscribe, because if you think this Cleveland saga is winding down, you're not paying attention. It's just getting started. The Cleveland Browns are now fully exposed. This isn't speculation. This isn't behind-the-scenes gossip. This is a franchise unraveling in real time, and there's no more pretending. When your starting quarterback storms into a post-game team meeting and says, point blank, "We are not going to win until Kevin Stefanski is gone," that's not just a disruption. That's a detonation. Let's be absolutely clear about what's happening here. Shedeur Sanders didn't just express frustration. He didn't offer constructive criticism. He made an ultimatum. On record. In front of the team. In front of the staff. In front of everyone who still believed in the idea that this organization was stable. That the Browns were past the chaos. Past the dysfunction. That narrative is dead now. Gone. And what replaced it? A fractured locker room, a frozen front office, and a city watching its supposed future franchise quarterback draw a red line in the middle of a hallway and dare the organization to cross it. Let's not forget how we got here. This wasn't just about losing to the Steelers. That was just the breaking point. The Browns didn't collapse overnight. This was weeks of mounting frustration. Of bad losses. Of questionable coaching decisions that weren't just hard to explain, they were impossible to justify. Decisions that cost games. That killed momentum. That made everyone wonder if Stefanski still had the locker room, or if he was just standing there hoping no one noticed he'd already lost it. Spoiler, they noticed. Players were already grumbling. Not just rookies. Veterans. Guys who've seen enough NFL seasons to recognize when a coach has stopped leading and started surviving. And then Shedeur Sanders did the one thing no one expected. He said it out loud. Loud enough for the entire NFL to hear. And now, that sound is still echoing. Every sports show. Every NFL insider. Every analyst with a mic and a take is locked in on Cleveland, not because of their play, but because of their collapse. Because one rookie quarterback just said what no one else dared to, that the coach has to go. And now the Browns are boxed in. Ownership is furious. Not just about the statement, but about what it represents, loss of control. D. Haslam is reportedly livid. Andrew Berry is reportedly stunned. And no one knows what to do. Because this is a no-win scenario. The kind of dilemma that either rewrites your franchise or sinks it. If they back Stefanski, they alienate their quarterback. And not just emotionally. Publicly. Irreversibly. You think Shedeur Sanders, after putting everything on the line, is going to walk back into that building and play nice under a coach he just said can't win? No chance. If they back Sanders and fire Stefanski, that sets a new precedent across the league. A quarterback-driven coup. It tells every other locker room that players can challenge coaches and win. That might scare some front offices. But at this point, what's more dangerous? Empowering a leader who's already taken command, or clinging to a coach who's already lost it? Because that's the real choice here. This isn't about personalities. This is about results. Direction. Identity. Kevin Stefanski was brought in to fix the culture. To build a system. And for a while, it looked like he was doing it. He got a little leash because the Browns were so desperate for normalcy. But now, that leash is frayed. The system is broken. And the players know it. The losses weren't just bad, they were revealing. Slow starts. Confusing clock management. Offenses that sputter under pressure. A team with enough talent to compete, stuck looking lost and flat every week. That's not just a rough patch. That's coaching. And Shedeur wasn't the first to see it, he was just the first to say it out loud. And that matters. Because quarterbacks don't do this. Especially not rookies. Especially not guys who are supposed to be keeping their heads down and earning stripes. But Sanders? He broke the code. He didn't ask for a seat at the table. He stood on the table and flipped it over. And when he did, other players didn't drag him down. They stood next to him. That says everything you need to know. So where do the Browns go from here? The answer should be obvious. You back the guy who has the locker room. You don't choose the coach who's already lost it. You choose the quarterback who's willing to carry it. Even when it's messy. Even when it's risky. Even when it makes every headline in the country. Because here's the thing. Shedeur Sanders already is the face of this franchise. Whether Cleveland's ready to admit it or not. He's the reason fans showed up this season with a shred of hope. He's the reason the locker room had energy. He's the reason this team had a future to believe in. And if they turn on him now, if they let this moment slip away, that future disappears. And don't kid yourself, he won't forget. No quarterback in NFL history has called for the coach's removal and then just gone back to business as usual. There's no way to clean that up. There's no PR line strong enough to repackage it. Either the Browns respond with action, or they watch the consequences unfold, one Sunday at a time. And let's talk about those consequences. If Cleveland fails to act, the next few months will be brutal. Tense practices. Distracted game plans. Losses that feel heavier than they should. A locker room that keeps quiet in public but fractures behind the scenes. And a quarterback whose trust is gone. And then? Trade rumors. Speculation. The vultures from around the league circling, waiting for a chance to make their move. Because if the Browns don't stand behind Shedeur now, they're not just losing games. They're losing leverage. Identity. Relevance. Once the league smells dysfunction, it doesn't forget. And this? This is dysfunction in its rawest form. A team too scared to fire a coach, too proud to admit it's wrong, too slow to respond to the one player who actually had the guts to lead. So what happens next? That's on ownership. That's on Barry. That's on the people who keep preaching culture and leadership, but freeze the second real leadership shows up. Because this isn't going away. This is the story now. And every single person in the building knows it. The Cleveland Browns are on the edge of something historic, and not in the good way. Because when your quarterback essentially gives the front office an ultimatum, when the locker room starts choosing sides, when ownership goes radio silent while the sports world melts down around them, that's not just a controversy. That's a collapse in slow motion. And right now, Cleveland is standing in the center of it, doing absolutely nothing. Let's call it what it is. This isn't a locker room disagreement. This is a breakdown in leadership at every level of the franchise. Shedeur Sanders didn't just rattle a few cages when he said the team can't win under Kevin Stefanski. He exposed the core dysfunction that's been festering beneath the surface of this team for years. And now, that dysfunction is front and center for everyone to see. Players, the media, division rivals, the entire NFL. No one's pretending anymore. This all goes back to one moment, after that crushing loss to Pittsburgh. A game that was ugly, frustrating, and totally avoidable. The kind of game where you expect your coach to step up, take accountability, and rally the team. Instead, according to insiders, what followed was a heated meeting. One filled with tension, finger-pointing, and, finally, a breaking point. That's when Sanders reportedly entered the room, uninvited, and delivered the line that no one in that building is going to forget. We're not going to win until Stefanski is gone. That was it. No dancing around it. No carefully crafted messaging. Just truth. Brutal, direct, and impossible to ignore. From that moment, everything changed. Veterans reportedly backed Sanders. Others stayed quiet, understandably, but the message was received loud and clear. This team was no longer behind its head coach. Stefanski's authority, already hanging by a thread, vanished. You know what happens when a coach loses the locker room? You lose the season. You lose the fan base. You lose control. And that's exactly where the Browns are right now. Let's not forget, this isn't Stefanski's first time being questioned. Even when things were going well, there were always whispers about conservative play calling, about in-game management, about how much control he really had over the offense. But he was protected because the team was functional. Functional enough, at least, to keep people quiet. That shield is gone. This isn't functional anymore. It's chaos. And what makes it even worse is that leadership isn't doing a single thing about it. No statement from D. Haslam. No comment from Andrew Barry. Nothing from Stefanski himself except the usual post-game platitudes. Meanwhile, the quarterback you bet your franchise on is openly challenging your head coach, and the players are lining up behind him. This is the moment where real franchises act. Where smart organizations make bold decisions to protect their culture, their credibility, and their quarterback. But the Browns? They're stalling. And that silence? It's deafening. It's damning. And every day they wait, the damage multiplies. Because what message are you sending your players when you stay quiet? What are you telling your locker room when you let dysfunction linger like this? You're telling them that leadership is more concerned with optics than action. That the front office would rather gamble on a coach who's already lost the team than stand behind the one player willing to call it out. And that's how you lose the locker room for good. You think Shedeur Sanders is just going to forget this? You think the veterans who backed him are going to pretend they didn't? No chance. That trust doesn't come back. Not without change. Not without accountability. Not without leadership doing something, anything, to show they've still got a grip on the wheel. But instead, Cleveland is doing what Cleveland has done for years, pretending it's fine while the house burns. This was supposed to be the turning point. The Browns had their quarterback. The defense had talent. The city had hope. And now, it's all slipping away. And this time, it's not because of a blown draft or a bad injury. It's because the people at the top refused to act when it mattered most. Let's be clear, this doesn't go away. You don't fix this with a players-only meeting. You don't fix it by pretending Stefanski and Sanders can work it out behind closed doors. This isn't about personality conflicts or media pressure. This is about respect. And once it's gone, it's gone. Kevin Stefanski can't lead this team anymore. That much is obvious. Not just because of what Sanders said, but because of everything that's happened since. The lack of response. The fractured locker room. The public debate. The organizational paralysis. This isn't a leadership issue. This is a lack of leadership. And if you're a Browns fan, you've seen this movie before. The slow descent. The missed opportunity. The once promising season unraveling because nobody wanted to make the tough decision. You know what comes next. The team will try to drag this out. Hope the media moves on. Hope Sanders softens his stance. Hope a couple of wins can cover up the cracks. But the cracks are everywhere. Because this isn't just about a coach and a quarterback. This is about who runs the team, and whether anyone in the building is brave enough to admit that things have gone off the rails. So far, no one is. And the longer they wait, the more they risk losing the one thing they can't afford to lose. Because Shedeur Sanders is the future. He's the talent, the charisma, the leadership, the presence, the rare quarterback who isn't afraid to take the heat. And now he's standing there, watching to see what this team does when everything's on the line. So what's it going to be? Will the Browns keep protecting a head coach whose time is clearly up? Or will they finally choose the quarterback who just took a stand most players wouldn't dare? Because here's the truth. If they back Stefanski, they lose Sanders. Maybe not today. Maybe not this season. But they lose him. Emotionally. Mentally. And eventually, physically. And once he's gone, good luck getting another quarterback like that to believe in your vision. Good luck selling the next draft pick on the idea that Cleveland is different now. Good luck convincing your fan base that this time will be different when everyone knows it won't. This is the decision that defines franchises. And right now, Cleveland's on the clock. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should the Browns remove Stefanski before it's too late? Or is the damage already done? Like this video if you've been glued to this train wreck like the rest of us. And subscribe for more real-time breakdowns of the biggest moments in sports controversy.